Hi, welcome to the Channel 2 studio. I'm Jonah Javad, and I'm joined by a few well-dressed gentlemen here to discuss a little Bills hot breaking news from this morning. Matt Fairburn from New York Upstate and Syracuse.com. Jeremy White, WGR 550. You're on in what, 6 a.m.?
Yeah, soon.
Thanks for hanging with us past your bedtime.
I'm glad to be here because I've been waiting to talk about this all day, and I had the longest wait because the announcement came right at the end of our show. So I've been waiting all day to talk about it.
We're getting your first take before we even hit the
There you
airwaves.
go. That's good
tweeting's good and all, but I've been waiting to talk about it, yeah.
And Stu Boyer, y'all know him. He's in the house. The glass is already tinted yellow already.
Yeah, I should probably just take them off.
Look like a superhero. All right. By now, y'all already heard Tyrod Taylor benched for Week 11, the game in L.A. against the Chargers. Nate Peterman, the rookie quarterback, put into the starting role. He performed serviceably against the Saints, 7 of 10, 79 yards, and a touchdown in garbage time against Saints backups. But I want to start with just kind of gut reactions to this move because it was a surprise after we had heard Bills coach Sean McDermott say time and time again, including Monday morning, Tyrod's our starter.
Yeah, I think, the timing is a little bit funny because of, what you mentioned, the fact that they're 5-4, they're in the playoff hunt. But at the same time, we've seen this regime act with conviction when they believe something. And even when the timing's awkward, they still follow through with it. And I think they really believe that Nathan Peterman gives them a better chance to win right now. And it gives them a chance to evaluate things going forward. And, Sean McDermott isn't shy about the fact that he wants to be better than 5-4. He said that today. They strive for more than just making the playoffs. They're striving for better than average. Tyrod Taylor was a pretty average quarterback. Sean McDermott wants better.
Well, we saw the trades with Marcel Darius and Sammy Watkins, Kelvin Benjamin. If they feel a conviction, as you put it, they'll go out and make a move. Jeremy, what were your thoughts?
I tend to agree. I think one of the more underrated or under-mentioned parts of this is I think they think they're putting the better quarterback in, which that might be a shock to a lot of Bills fans. The only people that are watching Peterman on a daily basis or weekly basis are these coaches. They're the ones that have apparently been impressed to think that he's better than Taylor at this point. Earlier in the season, when they would make the moves, they traded Watkins. People would say, like, oh, is this a tank move? And they would insist it wasn't. And then a couple games happened, and we saw they do want to win. They are interested in winning. So to me, it's a bit of a surprise. I thought it could come at some point, but I think they think they are giving themselves a better chance to win.
I really can't argue with that. What I like about this regime, they're bold. They'll do whatever they want and take whatever fallout. And you have to have that. You have to have the courage of your convictions. So I agree. They think that Nathan Peterman will be a better fit for their team than Tyrod Taylor. Unfortunately for Tyrod, the games before the last two, they put up like 30-some points. So something happened between those games, the Jets, and New Orleans. So, Tyrod's not horrible. He's not great. And maybe they think, like you said, that Nathan Peterman is an upgrade. That's a lot to put on a rookie, a team in a playoff spot in a town that hasn't been in the playoffs in forever. And you think that guy has a better chance of getting you there. That takes some pretty good guts to make that kind of call. And McDermott said he did it by himself. He didn't consult the other coaches. So take my hat off to him for being bold. We'll see if he's right.
He puts himself on the line in a big way here because if they fall out and just kind of lose a bunch of games, fans will look at him as almost sabotaging the season. But I know the Bills don't exactly do a lot to earn the benefit of the doubt. But think for a moment, what must have happened in Peterman's development or in what Taylor's missing for them to take a flyer on a guy in the 5th round and then all of a sudden say, yeah, now he's our starter. Like, a lot has to happen behind the scenes and the stuff that we don't see for them to make that kind of change.
Yeah, what has happened? Because, Matt, you cover this team on a daily basis. What have you seen that maybe would have led to this move?
I think for the most part, it was a lot of what you saw with the offense, just continually stalling out early in games. They tried a lot to switch things up and to cater it more to Tyrod Taylor's skills. They run a lot out of shotgun, which is not Rick Dennison's style. They switched up the zone blocking scheme to run more gap and power runs. They even used more QB runs because that's stuff that Tyrod Taylor is comfortable with. And even the more they switched it, you heard Rick Dennison say on Monday, we need to get back to what we do well. I kind of took that as him saying, we need to get back to, my scheme. and doing what I'm comfortable with.
Right.
And I think Nathan Peterman has a chance to run that better than Tyrod Taylor. That's not to say he's a better quarterback. It's just to say that they couldn't quite figure out how to fit everything in with Tyrod Taylor. And now Nathan Peterman, more of a 3 to 5 step drop. He can work from under center and get the ball out quickly. There's guys in that locker room that believe in him. And so that's why I don't think this is a move that throws away the 2017 season in any way.
I think something that gets overlooked in the NFL a lot is we want to rank quarterbacks as this guy's better than this guy. Remember Jared Goff last year?
Yeah.
The quarterback for the Rams? He was horrible. And we're all ready to bury this guy. He's a bust. In comes Sean McVay, new head coach, completely new offensive system, and now the Rams are a playoff contender. Their offense is incredible, and he's throwing to the likes of Robert Woods and Sammy Watkins. So this tells me that just because you're not performing well with one coordinator or coach or system doesn't mean you can't perform well in a different system. I think Tyrod could succeed in the right offense. But that's not Rick Dennison's offense. And I think that's why we're seeing this switch to Peterman, a pocket passer, somebody that fits what they're looking for, so to speak.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm watching the game Sunday, and as soon as the Bills had to settle for 3, I just thought to myself, the game is over. We've seen this for however many years of this drought. You march right down the field, and you stall, and you settle for a field goal. I don't know if Nathan Peterman can fix that, but it's worth a shot because it kept on happening, at least with Tyrod the last couple of games. So is Nathan Peterman a better fit? You got to trust the coaches. Like you said, they see him every day in practice. So you got to, hey, we'll find out, and they'll live with the decision.
Yeah.
But I think Jonah's right, too, that Nathan Peterman's a better fit for what Rick Dennison does.
They could be wrong, but, I mean, let's take this to the Bills in the last couple of years. They had a number of players in a 4-3 defense with Jim Schwartz that were really well-fitted, well-suited.
Yes.
Rex comes in, same players, poof. All your success is gone.
Right.
So, like, you can see that the same players. Jerry Hughes was double-digit sacks, and those went away. Marcel Darius and Kyle Williams, these big presences in the middle. All of a sudden, nothing in Rex Ryan's defense. So, yeah, the Goff point, I think, is a great point about scheme. Get a guy in there that is going to run the offense the way that it's at least designed to run. And it might not be great, but at least you'll get an evaluation of who he is.
Right. And one problem I have with sometimes a lot of the knee-jerk reactions we see in the NFL from an actual personnel standpoint in terms of changing players is you often come to these types of situations where you have an offensive coordinator who wants to do one thing, you have a player that doesn't fit that scheme. So they get a new player in there, but then the next year the offensive coordinator is gone. So you can never find the right puzzle pieces to all work together. That when you have the right offense coordinator, you're going to have the right players and vice versa. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm hopeful that Peterman can fit this scheme the way they want it to. And I think with 7 games, assuming he starts all of them, that will give them a pretty good evaluation whether they need to draft a quarterback or not. They're going to draft a quarterback, I think, regardless.
I would think so.
Just to cover your butt. But at least that's enough of a sample size. You're playing the Patriots twice, the Chiefs. If Peterman plays all of those, you're going to find out real quick if this is the guy. I'm a little worried, though. That's a lot to handle, throwing him right into the fire, because he's not playing Saints backups. He's not playing backups in the preseason. This is the real deal, and he's got Joey Bosa coming after him this coming Sunday.
Well, and right now they have a playoff spot. So they're willing to risk that playoff spot to go with this kid. They must have some kind of belief in him.
This is a gamble.
That's a pretty big leap of faith.
If they make the playoffs,
they're geniuses.
Build the statue for McDermott and for Peterman. If they don't, there's going to be a lot of angry and upset Bills fans at the end of the season, and I get it.
Well, I think this is the best way to learn about the kid. I don't think,
and I think that's why so many people agree with this move.
And I understand the sentiment of this isn't the best spot to put him in, but at the same time, if he's going to be a franchise quarterback and going to be the future, he'll come out the other end of this better for it.
What is the best spot?
Right. And that's what Sean McDermott said. He said there is no good time to transition quarterbacks.
Well, there is when you throw for 56 yards and 47-10 loss.
But they also had an opening to transition quarterbacks this offseason, and they didn't take that opening, and instead, they kind of kicked the can down the road, and now they have to, put themselves in the best situation. I think Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane both know they're not going to win without a quarterback. They're going to get fired if they don't find a quarterback.
Right.
And this is the best move to find a quarterback. And that means they know it's not Tyrod Taylor. it might be Nathan Peterman. Let's take the 7 games and find out. And if it's not Nathan Peterman, go out and get somebody in the draft and figure that situation out. Because let's face it, if they don't make the playoffs because they put in Nathan Peterman, that's not going to get Sean McDermott fired. What will eventually get him fired is if he can't find a quarterback. And this is setting them up to figure out that position in the best way possible. And I think that's what you can hang your hat on if you're a Bills fan.
Yeah, I like that not only – let's put aside maybe he's not the better quarterback and they're just trying to find out about him. All right, well, if that's there – I'll use like a college basketball or a basketball analogy. When you have the ball and you want a 2-for-1 possession, like there's enough time on the clock where I shoot, you're going to shoot again, and I'm getting it another one, a 2-for-1. If they go with Peterman and it doesn't work out and then they draft a quarterback, they just evaluated 2 young quarterbacks in the span where most teams only get an evaluation of 1. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. I get a half a season with a 5th rounder. All right, it didn't work. Now give me a full season with a 2nd rounder or a 1st rounder. So if
and they got Tyrod Taylor.
And they got Tyrod Taylor. And if you are obsessed with trying to find the franchise quarterback, well, then I think you're very happy with this move because you probably didn't think Tyrod was it. You think, Peterman, what are the chances? Not great because he's a 5th rounder, but it's worth the shot.
But they said when he came out, he was the most NFL ready. And what he's done when he's been out there has made enough of an impression that he's worth a shot.
It's been encouraging.
I mean, even though that game was over the other day, still he moved the team and he got points.
It's against backups or it's a prevent defense or whatever it is. But what you see is you see him throwing to Kelvin Benjamin and Benjamin's not looking yet. It's before Benjamin's out of his break. The kind of thing that this offense needs, that NFL offenses need, he's showing that. So I know it's not, 4th quarter of a close game, but these are plays that this offense has needed desperately.
He's decisive.
Yeah, and he's made the most of his opportunities. He doesn't have the luxury of starting in every NFL game. That's up to the coaches. But when he's gone into the game, he's performed well. And I think he's grown a lot throughout the course of the preseason as well. Some of those games, he was making beautiful passes that we had never seen Tyrod Taylor make. Passes to the end zone, fade routes, hard throws for quarterbacks to make, and he was dropping them with precision. So, yeah, 5th-round pick, and he's sat out half a season. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't be a franchise quarterback, and I think it's the unknown that people are so desperate to see. Because for Bills fans, a 17-year playoff drought, you've seen Tyrod Taylor for 2.5 years. You know what you're getting out of him usually. You know his ceiling. It's the unknown that people want because that might be what gets them over the hill.
And Taylor could get them there this year. He could get them there next year if they gave him enough time. It could happen. Sean McDermott said, I want to be about more than 5-4. And I think that's a very strong statement for a first-year coach of this franchise with that drought to make.
I think that's the big thing here is that they're being so bold and acting with such conviction. Sean McDermott does not care what anybody thinks. And that's kind of refreshing. You only get so much time to be a head coach in the NFL.
Right.
And if you delay, making decisions and, choose to settle for being average and choose to settle for, a decent quarterback when you could take a chance and maybe strike gold. The Cowboys wouldn't know what they had in Dak Prescott if Tony Romo didn't get hurt. And, expecting Nathan Peterman to be Dak Prescott is shooting for the moon, but you never know if he sits on the bench the whole time. Right. And after 2.5 years, it was pretty clear what Tyrod Taylor was.
Put it this way. Leadership is not easy. It's tough. And Sean McDermott's clearly in charge. You ever heard one player say something negative about this guy? He's gotten everybody on the same page, at least to us in the media, verbally. Haven't heard one player say anything that deviates from that. So I think there's a belief in him, and he's willing to take the risk. So good for him, and it's a calculated risk, and at this point, a smart risk, I would say.
It better be, because if it doesn't, then there will be people in the locker room who don't have full faith in him.
That's the chance
So he wants people to trust the process, and if this is part of the process, it's got to pay off. And if it doesn't, that's a strike. That's how this thing works.
It is, and how many strikes is he going to get?
Right.
I mean, if it doesn't work, he's still going to be here next year with Nate Peterman, whoever they draft.
But that's the bold part about it. If I think back to the last time this happened, E.J. Manuel gets benched for Kyle Orton. And why did that happen? Because Doug Marrone needed to show people he could win 9 games. And he puffed his chest out about 9 games. This is the opposite of that move. This is 9's not enough. We want to be better than that. So they're taking a risk, and they're going to a kid that they think, again, I still think they think he's better.
Yeah, I admire
it. And who can complain about a coach saying, This is about being better than 5-4. Basically, we're a middling 500 team, and we want to be better. We want to be upper echelon. So take the chance. You don't get there if you don't take chances. I don't care what you do.
Even when after they beat the Falcons, Sean McDermott wasn't satisfied. He wasn't happy about it. When they were 5-2, he continued to, kind of downplay it. I think he knew all along what they were. And, they were probably overachieving, and I get it. A lot of people got some hope, and hope is a dangerous drug. It makes people think things about the team that maybe aren't true. Right. And, Nathan Peterman comes in, and he has a chance, I think, to run this offense better than it's been run so far this season. Micah Hyde today said he calls him Nate Favre because he's a gunslinger. He does not have Brett Favre's arm by any stretch of the imagination. But if he's willing to take chances and get the ball to wide receivers, I mean, Kelvin Benjamin was targeted as often by Nathan Peterman in those couple of series as he was the entire rest of the game by Tyrod Taylor. You need to get those playmakers involved if you're going to move the ball.
You don't get to the Super Bowl by having a nice touchdown to interception ratio.
No, you got to take some chances, and sometimes you got to force the issue. Keep doing it. You want LaShawn McCoy to have a big game? Keep giving him the ball. Don't stop, and don't throw to Mike Tolbert on 3rd and long.
Right. No option pitches to Mike Tolbert. I think we can
nothing
all
against
agree on
Mike.
No more Mike
like,
Tolbert
please don't do
situational
that.
offense. Please bury it.
I mean, when you're watching that game, you're like, what is going on here?
But I think that's the hope, is that bringing in Peterman will rejuvenate this offense, and he'll run it the way that Rick Dennison and McDermott and all of them believe that this offense can run. Again, it's incumbent on all 11 players on the field because while the quarterback is the most employer of those 11, there's still 10 others that impact the success on the field. And if the defense keeps giving up 47 points, poor Peterman's not going to be in a place to succeed. So it all works together, hopefully for the Bills' sake and for the fans' sake that this pays off. I was mentioning to somebody earlier this morning, this felt like a Madden move. This is something where you can just go change the depth chart to switch the starting quarterback with your number 2, because you don't see this very often in the NFL. And you mentioned it's refreshing. It is. It's somebody who believes in what should happen, and they go out and do it rather than settling. And I think settling for the Bills, for the most part, over the last 2 decades, is what got him in this place.
Absolutely. And this coach is not boastful like previous coaches. He's not boasting. He's telling you we want to be better than 5-4. He knows what they need to do to get to that upper echelon and stay there. And they have a lot of work to do. But at least he's willing to be bold and say, this is what we're going to do. It's on me. And what more can you ask for in a head coach?
I still feel bad for Tyrod.
Well, so do I. I feel bad for but it's professional sports. I feel bad when that happens to anybody.
Well,
I thought about that this morning.
He's the scapegoat of a defense giving up 300 yards rushing. He didn't play well in his own right, yes, but this was a snowball effect. He was the best offensive player in the game against the Jets.
Yeah, he's played well. I think he's played well enough in his time as the starter to get them to the playoffs if the defense wasn't a train wreck for 2 straight years. But, the fact of the matter is the writing was on the wall when they hired an offensive coordinator who didn't really match up, with his skill set. And then they didn't really adapt the offense to his skill set either. It's not the most fair situation to Tyrod Taylor because I think he's a talented quarterback who, has a ceiling that hasn't been reached because of the offense he's playing in. But at the same time, I think the best quarterbacks, the franchise quarterbacks, everything that happens around them doesn't really matter in the end. And it's the same thing with the head coaches who get their quarterback. They're not being talked about, with their job security because they have the quarterback. So if Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane can go find one, then, nobody will care about the offensive scheme Rick Dennison's running or, whether Sean McDermott decided to go for 2 or punt or whatever. Yep. If they have a quarterback, they're going to win games and people are going to be happy.
A franchise quarterback transcends everything else in a team's offense. You expecting this to work out for the season? You think it'll be Peterman the last 7 games?
I don't want to be too bullish on it, but I've been really impressed by Peterman. It goes to preseason. Preseason can be a lie. I think something that's overblown a lot. People say the backup quarterback's always the most popular guy in town. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. It's not often that this happens. Last year, Cardale Jones stuff was whatever. Nobody really thought that. EJ stuff never really happened. And Tyrod himself was a 3rd stringer that won a job. Anyone that's saying he's a 5th-round pick. What are the chances he's any good? He's replacing a 6th-round pick. That's in his 7th year in the league. So I'm excited for it. I think it will work, but I don't want to get too carried away with it. You know, you say hope's a dangerous drug. You know, it depends on which version of it you're taking. But, like, I think it's going to work.
The schedule is still tough.
Yeah,
they were sitting in a tough spot at 5-4.
There's some pretty weak defenses.
And
New England
is a mess.
Right, exactly. The Chiefs, the Patriots are both poor on defense. Like, you've got an opportunity here to maybe get some yards, get some numbers. I mean, if they go 3-4 or whatever, if they fall off, but offensively they pick up, what do we say? You know, do we say right move, get a better team for them?
Yeah, the proof will be in the pudding. We got to see how he performs, and it's not all about stats. I think that's a big thing to point out. It's not all about his box score. Let's see how he does on 3rd downs. That was one of Tyrod's big failings. Let's see if he doesn't continually dump off to the fullback on a 3rd and 15.
Let's see if by week 3 they allow him to change plays at the line.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm curious to see how this progresses.
Yeah. I think we're all very curious. I mean, it's a midseason change. In some ways, it's exciting. It's a little refreshing. It's definitely a fresh start with basically unlimited possibilities because of the great unknown.
Yeah.
The question is,
there's a 6th-round draft pick in the division who's doing pretty good. So, you know.
Easy.
But things can happen. I'm not saying that, but it doesn't really matter where you're drafted. It's how in athletics, whatever the sport is, it's what you do when the coach taps you on the shoulder. Now, Nathan Peterman has that opportunity, and hopefully he takes the ball and runs with it.
I'm curious, you know, what does Nathan Peterman have to do in these 7 games to convince them not to draft a quarterback? Because everything has sort of been lining up for them to draft a quarterback. They have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. It's a pretty good class, you know, despite people kind of being down on it.
And if they keep winning, they're going to get further and further away from potential top 5.
I mean, I'm curious in their mind, you know, what Nathan Peterman would have to do, because then he could put them in a really interesting spot, and we're having an even more interesting conversation in a few months.
And obviously, that's the best case scenario for them, right?
Good problem to have, for sure.
Well, as Rick James once said, hope is a hell of a drug. I believe that's the quote. For Stu Boyer, Jeremy White of WGR 550, and Matt Fairburn of, what is it? Is it NewYorkUpstate.com?
Syracuse.com.
Syracuse.
You know, I'm a man of the people, whatever they want to say.
Domestic man of mystery. I'm Jonah Javad for Channel 2 Sports. Thanks for watching.